Welcome to the Exponential webinar with Adam Weber. He is my guest today. I'm Peyton Jones, Content Director at Exponential. And Adam, welcome on.
Oh, it's an honor to be on, to connect with you. A huge fan of Exponential and all God does in and through that. It's a truly honor to be with you today.
Well, let me tell you a little bit, everyone who's listening, about Adam. Adam is, he laughs because we've just been talking and geeking out behind the scenes. And I would apologize for the Millennium Falcon background, but it's just so cool I can't. That I'm packing up my office, so this just looks better. But if like parts of my body disappear, you know why. But Adam is the founder and pastor of Embrace, a church based out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And if you got the email today, we're going to answer whether he's the baddest church planter to ever come out of the Badlands. And he's also the author of Talking with God and hosts a podcast called The Conversation. And he had a big fish on there today. He just got done interviewing Danielle Strickland, and he likes to kind of pick apart, what their failures were, things you don't normally get to hear behind the scenes. And the other thing I really like, besides the fact that you're one of our speakers coming up at the Boise Regional Online Conference, I like the fact that you have a wife, you have 4 kids, and also 7 chickens, 2 dogs, and 3 fish. But what you really want is a sheep. Now, this is a 30-minute webinar, so I know that you're dying to tell us about wanting that sheep, and I found out about that red jacket hanging up behind you. But Adam, man, it is going to be fun. We're going to have an excellent webinar. So, as we get into this today, tell me a little bit. We're coming. I don't know if we're coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, or if it's only just begun. But how's this whole COVID-19 impacted your family and ministry?
Yeah, no, it's impacted in a ton of ways, just as every person in the world has kind of had their world pushed pause or turned upside down, however you want to say it. And it really, there's been positives and also been negatives and hard things. And I'm so grateful that I haven't been impacted personally by the virus or had a loved one impacted by the virus. So not making light of that at all. But there's definitely been some bonuses to it. I mean, we've really had some really cool new rhythms as a family. Whether it's more time with the Lord in my own time. I've been getting up early. I haven't had to drop my kids off at school, so oftentimes I get to coffee shops at 7 o'clock in the morning now. So spending time with the Lord, extra time with family. One of the new rhythms that I've put in place, I still am shocked that I'm doing it, has been exercise. Last two months, I've been eating well and exercising on a regular basis, which I haven't done since I was a senior in college. And so it's been cool
skinnier than your social media picture that we blasted out. You need to get you a new one of those,
man. I know. It's kind of crazy. And I cut down my beard a little bit, but yeah, I'm down like 10 pounds and 3.5 inches. So that's been kind of the good thing about it. Church-wise, there's been highs and lows, just to be candid. It's really pushed us to look at some things that we've never looked really at doing. Again, not making light of what we're going on what's going on around the world. I really think this is the best thing that's happened to the global church. I think it's just really forced us to address some things and change some of the ways that we do things. And so there's been some exciting things of just really leaning to online and seeing what God can do through there. There's also been hard parts. Right before the virus, we had some of the best momentum we've had in the history of our church. Our last physical services was Baptism Sunday. So we had all these adult baptisms. God just the room is on fire in the best way possible. And then momentum, there was the uptick, initially with online, and then you kind of get through Easter, and now it's been a lot lower. And we're 3 weeks in now of having physical services back. And I think we all saw the image of Chris Farley. It was all over Facebook of the first Sunday back. Chris Farley's running down, and kind of shaking hands. And that's really what we expected as well. And it has not been the case. It's been a lot lighter. I'm not sure of this last week, but I know 2 Sundays ago, we were 30% of what we were the same Sunday the year before. And again, we really were coming into a season of great momentum and growth. And so I think it was even more exaggerated than that.
Wow. So, when the return back has been light, because a lot of church leaders have not yet returned. Like I'm in California, and most people haven't returned back. Um, you said that you've been back 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and it's just lighter than what you anticipated. Um, why do you think that is?
Yeah, and I mean, just to say it, it's the lightest we've been in over a decade. I mean, we're going back to early parts of Embrace, so it's been that much. I think a bunch of different reasons, honestly. In South Dakota, summers are holy. We have some brutally cold winters that are long, and so even in the summers, normally that's very exaggerated in our part of the country. A lot of people are at the lake, they're traveling, they're enjoying as much as they can. So I think there's that 10 weeks, and then it starts back in summer. I think that's a part of it. We currently don't have kids ministry back. We have a really young congregation. I'm 38, and we just have a lot of kids, a lot of youth. And so not having that, I think, is a big deal. We re-enter that 2 Sundays from now. We start early childhood, and then July 12th we start elementary again. So I think that will help. I also think the virus, there's still people who are, hey, even younger folks, hey, I'm not wanting to risk it. We were the only state in our country that didn't have the governor totally shut things down. So that tells you a little bit about our people. So it doesn't surprise me. We have services, and we weren't a renegade. There were other churches that started at the same time as us. But I think the biggest thing to consider is really what a lot of people are talking about, even in podcasts. I wonder how many people have started to question, like, is church really vital to my relationship with God? And is it a vital part of my life moving forward? Even for that fringe person that's kind of like, yeah, I kind of do church, I kind of go, they've been out of rhythm now for 10 weeks, and now we're in summertime, and so I wonder how much that's factored into it as well. And that's a hard thing to accept as a pastor. One of the questions I know our team's been feeling is, gosh, I just thought our people cared more about church. Like, I really thought they were as excited about coming back as I was. And I think there's a variety of different reasons. I don't think that's the case for everyone, but that's been
Yeah,
something we've had to wrestle with that. And I can be candid in saying our team has been discouraged at times,
right.
in the last 3 weeks.
Well, and I appreciate that honesty, because if people don't say it, then we can't address it. And
That's right.
when all of this first happened, I remember, because I'm a serial planter. So what I do is I plant churches and I move on. And so one of the things that we've really learned to do in our gatherings over the years is church and public space. So we might
Yep.
meet in a Starbucks. I've planted churches there. I've planted churches.
It's
I
great.
always like to say the Dr. Seuss model: in a box, in a box with a fox, in a house with a mouse. I plant churches, Sam. I am. It doesn't matter how
Yeah.
they go. It just the point is, when I first heard the pastors getting excited, like, we pivoted, we went online, we have more views than ever, we have more money coming in because people shifted to online. For me, I saw the writing on the wall, because I lived in Europe, and to me
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't a good thing. I think your metrics, not you, but I think in
Yeah.
general what I
Yeah.
was hearing was the metrics were not what we ought to be excited about, and what goes up will come down. And so
Yep.
what I could see was exactly what you said, that people were perhaps saying, well, I've been told by my leaders this is good, like, we're not missing out on anything. And
That's
then they
right.
looked over at the next Safari window and went, that guy over there, and that, I mean, if this is what church is, I mean, he's right. I can do all this at home. And, as a matter of fact, why even be in Cincinnati? I'm going to go to Milwaukee, or I'm going to go to
Yep.
Boston today. And I can go to any church I want now with this new normal.
That's right.
And I think we I mean, I felt like I saw it coming on my podcast. I was talking about it, but I felt like people weren't understanding what this actually has the potential to do. And what our message perhaps should have been was, hey, there are things we can only do face to
Yep.
face. So
Yep.
what changes and shifts, Adam, have you made during the pandemic that will continue into your new normal?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I think one of the biggest things, just to say it, is I think there was a part of me that kept really believing that normal was going to come back. And to some degree it might, it may take some months for each of us to get back to where we were numbers wise, but I don't think that normal is returning. And so I think in my brain, I just kept thinking, this is kind of fun. It's 10 weeks, it's 12 weeks. It started, I thought it was gonna be like 3 weeks long. But normal is going to come back. And so I think even me, a person that likes to think out of the box, I don't think I really was. I was just kind of holding my breath until normal came back again. And so that was a huge shift, even in the last 3 weeks again, of like, wow, this is not going back. Things that will continue on into the new normal is leaning in unapologetically to online. So one of the bright spots for us has been online kids curriculum. Just doing it's like a 25-30 minute video that kids can watch on YouTube. I just ran into a pastor and his family. They have not had physical services in our smaller church. He said, hey, I just want to thank you. My kids every single week have started using your kids curriculum and they just love it. Like
That's awesome.
they can't say enough about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. So we had nothing before, and now that's something we'll continue on weekly.
Wow.
That
That is so cool.
kids can have that opportunity. Even worship wise online, we started out super small a decade ago. The next 2 weeks we're leaning into more cameras in our sanctuary. So we're going from a 3-camera shoot to a 9-camera shoot.
Wow.
Just to be able to switch the angles so you're not it's kind of constantly looking at one. That's something we've wanted to do and talked about doing, but it's not something we've leaned into. Even online groups offering that being something consistently offered. I mentioned Nikki Gumbel, Alpha. Alpha has been an in-person thing, and right now they're seeing their online groups just explode. Nikki Gumbel said, I have been adamantly opposed to online Alpha for years. He said, now we'll do it for the remainder of my time that I'm a part of it.
Wow.
He's seen
That's so
that much.
cool.
He's seen that much fruit. Something else that we've been trying to do that we actually launched it right before the virus hit. We call it a run project. And so anybody connected to Embrace can apply it very loosely. I joke, if you once thought about attending Embrace, you can apply for a run project. You can apply for up to $2,000 to go do something for somebody else.
Wow.
Whether it's start a ministry. We just had someone just get their papers back they started a nonprofit and they just got the official letter in the mail.
Wow.
It's a nonprofit that sends flowers on the date that a mom had a miscarriage,
Oh
because
my
that's
gosh. Wow.
often a date that's forgotten. It's often a date that
Oh,
people mourn in silence. And so that they send flowers on the day of with a short, simple prayer and just a kind
that's
word. And
amazing.
so seeing that,
Wow.
we flipped teachers lounge. Just got approval this week to go do a mural. There's a guy outside the church that does murals, and so one of the banks said that they'd love a mural. So we're putting a mural on the side of a bank that says "Better Together" with kind of the Sioux Falls flag on it, just as a way to be a blessing to our city.
And then it
So
has the dates of the Exponential Together Conference
that's
right
it.
underneath it, right?
That's
June
it.
23rd and 24th.
Just come to it, come to it, come to it. But so
Multiplication.org.
that's exactly it. So we've been just looking really. We told our staff, and so we just shared it again. We said, hey, we know we've talked about these run projects, but we want to challenge all of you to lead or be a part of one in the next 2 months. And so really saying, hey, run projects is going to be our vessel for outreach. It's also going to be our vessel for discipleship during this time. When people get their hands dirty for Jesus, they grow in their walk with him. And so those are just a couple of things that we're going to lean into and won't go away.
Wow, that's amazing, man. So, okay, so you got a lot of projects, initiatives, and I love that you're mobilizing God's people on mission. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
key, isn't it? Right? I
yeah,
mean, we talk about hero maker and all those kinds of things, and multiplication doesn't happen if the leadership tries to hold it in. I love that you guys are giving it away and
yeah.
people are doing it. But what ministry project or initiative are you the most excited about right now, or did you already hit it?
Well, I already hit the one I'm most excited about for our church with run projects. But I think what I'm most excited about for the church, and this applies to anybody listening, that's a leader, a volunteer, a staff person, a pastor in a church. What new thing does God want to do out of this time? I think that's the thing I'm most excited about. And so for us, it's the run project, but it might even be something else that we haven't stumbled across? Just even what you were talking about with church planting, you can do it anywhere, at a Starbucks, here, there, everywhere. What does that look like for us as a church? The church, what new thing? And instead of seeing this time just as the discouraging part of things, and just to let someone know, it's okay to be discouraged, and it's okay to not have like, we're so excited about what's taking place here. I just want to give you permission to grieve some of the loss that you've experienced, but at the same breath, to constantly be asking the question, God, what new thing do you want to do? So honestly, to answer your question, I'm not even sure what that is. I just feel like I'm just been praying, God, would you give me eyes to see and ears to hear what that new thing is? For me personally, the podcast has been just a really fun project. It's for me, it's like a personal conference each time I sit down with somebody, along with,
Oh,
yeah.
how long have you been doing the podcast now?
So I started the podcast about 3 years ago, and it
Okay.
came about unintentionally. And it was just going to be something that I was going to send to our team. I wasn't going to do through iTunes. A staff person at the time said, Adam, you get to have conversations with people that no one else gets to. It'd be so cool if you let us in on those conversations.
Mm.
And so I got a simple setup that can fit in my backpack. It's actually right in there. And so I would just start, if I was hanging out with someone, an author friend, a speaker, a pastor, I would just say, hey, would you mind if I record? And yeah,
Oh, no
absolutely.
way.
So that's how it started. And then other people were like, hey, can we listen to those too? So we started sharing them online. And then honestly, I was going to give up on it. And we ended up there was a group of us, there's like 7 or 8 of us that a publisher approached and said, hey, we'd love to sponsor you. Would you be willing to do this more often? And so Zondervan came along and
Wow.
sponsored the group of us. And so I was like, oh, and you'll cover the cost on things? Sweet. So
Wow.
it's
So
not
they're
it's not.
sponsoring your podcast.
So they're a sponsor of our podcast. Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
so,
fantastic.
and even one of the hardest parts of a podcast is getting guests.
Right.
And it helps when one of the sponsors has authors that they can just start sending your
Heck
way.
yeah.
And so
That's fantastic.
that's really how it started. I was like, these are people that I want to talk with. Like,
Yeah.
you mean I get to sit down with this person? And
Wh-
so it was
What,
fantastic that way.
what I love about how this started is very much how I think multiplication happens, right? Like, for
So
example,
true.
um, you just, I'll tell people sometimes I'll be like, I don't really know how to discipleship or how to do discipleship.
Yep.
And there's this kind of idea that you kind of tend to disciple how you were discipled.
That's
And
right.
the problem is most of us weren't discipled, right?
That's so
I think
true.
most leaders were. That's probably how we eventually ended up as leaders. But I believe that when it comes to exactly what you're saying, just take people with you. So for those of you listening, rather than bringing a recording rig or setup, bring a person,
That's
into
right.
that conversation, bring someone with you. So I love that, man, because that just really resonates with how I think it actually happens on the ground. And that leads into my next question, which are what
Yes.
opportunities are you seeing for kingdom multiplication in your context now?
That's a great question. And Peyton, I really think what you just said is bringing someone along with you is the best multiplication process ever. And if there's a way to scale that, that's kind of a weird word to say, but if there's a way to scale it, great. But
Yeah,
don't keep you from just bringing a person with you. So like what we just talked through with the podcast, now it's more scaled. Now anybody can listen to those and kind of come along as a friend of mine,
it's really good.
to do that. Something I just shared this morning, I actually just pushed it out this morning, is 6 days through the book of Galatians. And so it's just a simple, I have to have a paid account because I have a few people that are on my list now, email wise. But you don't have to even have a paid account to create something. I just started thinking, actually, it was a person in my group, one of my small groups. She said, Adam, I always love what your 2 thoughts are because I always want other people to speak instead of just hearing the pastor talking head. So I always try to be quiet, and then I'll share, like if I'm leading the group, I'll share my thoughts at the end, usually 1 or 2 thoughts that stuck out from a chapter in a book of the Bible, whatever. And she said, I missed 1 week, and she said, I missed your 2 thoughts. You always have 2
Hmm.
thoughts on a group, on a chapter. And so I was like, gosh, I'm going through the book of the Bible anyways. why don't I just write down those 2 thoughts and then have people
Wow.
be able to sign up for free? I don't make any money off it. I don't want to make it. I'm
Right.
not in the money business.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
paycheck
You're in
from the
the
church.
ministry.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
grateful.
or you're in the wrong kind of ministry to make
That's
money,
right.
right?
That's right. And so it's like I have any desire to make
Thank
money, but
God.
that's that scalability.
Yeah.
But like what you said though, last week, there was a family. There's a family that lives on my block, and it's an African American family. The son is a 8th grader. I've been pursuing a friendship with him for 2 years. Just been a kid that I've just been pouring into, pouring into, pouring into. Well, he blessed me in this way. Him and his friend one day, I was sitting on my front porch. They came around and they were picking up trash on my front yard. And I'm like, Dwight, what are you doing? And he's like, I just don't like when trash is on our block. And so I was just wanting to help out. Well, Dwight's house is pretty rough. And they also have this huge branch that's broken down. And so I asked Dwight, I said, do you think it'd be a blessing to your dad if I had a few friends come over and get rid of that branch? He's like, yes. And I was like, are you sure? And he's
Oh,
like, you can ask
wow.
my dad. So I went and talked to his dad and I said, hey, I'm one of your neighbors. He's like, I know Dwight talks about you often. I said, would you mind if, I was like, no pressure, don't feel bad. Would it be a gift if I had a few friends come over and get rid of that branch? He's like, that'd be fantastic. So
Wow.
last Thursday, 10 friends came with me. We did the work. We cleaned it all up at the end. Again, this is just modeling it, and it's not. I'm nothing special. I promise you. I'm a work in progress, folks. But at the end, I told Dwight. I said, "Hey, would you want to have your dad come out?" And he's like, "What do you think I should tell him?" And I said, "Tell him that we want to honor him. I want to honor him in front of the group." And so I had all my friends come. 10 friends came around. Dwight and his dad came out, and I just took a moment to honor Dwight's dad. I said, he's the man of this house, and he's a great neighbor. I'm so honored that I get to be his neighbor. And he's a hardworking man. He just got home from his one job, and he's just going to his second job right now. He's
Wow.
literally been home for an hour. And so it's
Wow.
an honor. And I said, the reason we're doing this is because Dwight here was picking up trash around my house a few weeks ago, and
Wow.
I've been looking for a way to bless him. So he's the reason we're doing this, not because we're just whatever. We just want to look for a way to bless Dwight. And then I prayed over both of them. And afterwards, it was just one of those moments where in all that's going on in our world, it was like God showed up. Afterwards, one of my neighbors is 60 some years old. He texted me and he said, Adam, what a gift it was to be a part of that group.
Hmm.
And he said, your words and what you prayed over their family was just absolutely amazing.
Hmm.
And that right there was a multiplication moment of just like anybody can do this, you
Yep.
know? I physically can't cut the tree. I'm worthless and I'm scared of heights. But I just showed the opportunity right on our block. Like you don't have to travel
Yeah.
across the universe. It's right there. And I was able to bring 10 people around with me. The thing I get excited about is the things that God does in those 10 people in their neighborhoods, whether it's next week or 6 months from now or 6 years from now.
That's actually, man, I'm just putting myself in Dwight's shoes and trying to think, man, what kind of impact would that have on me to watch 10 grown men come do that, honor my father, but exemplify that kind of manhood and leadership and community spirit. Like that's mind blowing, you
Oh,
know.
it
I
was,
never forget. I like that's a transformative moment in that young man's life. In 8th grade to see that, like my mind goes back to the stuff I saw the men in my church do because I was saved around 15 years old, and and I came into it. I didn't have a dad, and I watched those men do things like that.
oh,
Never forget that kind of stuff. That's amazing.
yeah. It was a holy moment where I prayed first for Dwight. And I didn't make stuff up. I really believed it. I said, God, I see a leader in Dwight. I see a change maker in Dwight.
Mm,
Even myself, he's somebody that I want to follow, and I know other
mm,
kids his age will follow him. He's a young man that
mm,
I just feel like you have your hand upon. And then I prayed for Dwight's dad, and you could see Dwight beaming when I talked about his dad.
mm,
And I pray for Dwight's dad, who's a good man. He's a hardworking man.
hmm.
And I pray you'd protect him. I pray you'd use him. And I just felt like in that moment, I could even see Dwight's lid on his life in a small, subtle way. Again, I'm far from this is a God thing, not me. I could just see his lid. grow. I mean, just like like just like speaking it into him.
Yeah.
After everything happened, Dwight ran up to me at the very end, just him and I, and he said, Adam, thank you. Like, thank you for that. And I said, it was actually all you. You were the one that was cleaning up trash on
Mm.
my yard.
Yeah.
And so even like making him the hero
Yeah.
rather than me, I'm not the
Oh,
hero.
that's great.
Dwight's the one that came around the corner. He's the reason that started the ripple effect, not
Right.
me.
No, that's amazing. So, I mean, obviously, God's at work, in your life and in your neighborhood during all this, like you said. And as you kind of approach the online conference, which we have June 23rd and 24th, it was our Boise Regional, which is now an online conference and community. So, those of you
Yeah.
that don't know this, what we're doing here is kind of a sneak peek into what we would do normally. In fact, we do live interactive coaching. So we change the format. We have forums, webinars. They're exclusive to the online community, but we're sharing it out with you today to give you a flavor. What this might look like is we're sitting there talking with Adam, and he's taking questions. So this thing is so epic. We kind of feel like we were saying yesterday, it's almost too epic. Like people can't believe that we've got them interacting with live, the main stage speakers. You never get an opportunity to do that. You might like walk up to them afterwards and be like, "Hey man, I appreciated your talk," and they're like, "Yeah, but what not?" But that's as good as it gets or maybe, you stand in that line of people, and you're like 10 people in, and by the time you get up there's 10 more people behind you. So you're like, I read your book and I like this part, and then boom, you're off. But the online community is like this. It's almost daily. Like I
It's
think
huge.
we're on like our 5th event this week. You don't have to go to everything, but there's like a chat online community. It's epic. So thanks for being a part, Adam. When you come now to the conference, I know you can't give us your talk like here it is, but
Yeah.
when you're coming up to it now, what's one thing you're hoping, looking to that on June 23rd and 24th, that you're hoping people come away from your talk thinking or feeling?
Yeah, first off, it's a huge honor. I've been to Exponential in the past, and online. It's amazing what God's able to do online, and just what God's going to do through this conference. I can't even wait to see it. For me, I think the one thing I hope that people walk away with, it's part of what we've been talking about, is the importance of being together with our people and going outside the church walls together. Like, what does it look like to be together with our people and then go outside the church? There's something powerful that happens when our people that are a part of our church see us serving, seeing us being the hands and feet of Jesus. Much more powerful than a great message, than great words, than a nice tweet. When people see us living it out, it's impactful. It changes everything. So it's important for our people, but it's also important for us. There's something unique that we learn about Jesus when we get our hands dirty, when we go outside the church walls ourselves. And I pray, no matter how big or small our church is, that we never get to the place where it's like, I do this, but I never really get my hands dirty. It's like, no, I pray no matter how big, the bigger the church, the more hands you should get dirty. I mean, just doing those little simple acts of showing people like Dwight and his dad, Jesus. I pray we'd never step away from that. And when we do that
Yeah.
together with our people, awesome things happen.
Yeah. No, it's really good, man. Well, hey, our guest today has been Adam Weber. Brother, thank you so much. I
Uh,
knew it was going to be a fun conversation when we first got on today, but that was really good, man. I can't thank you
yeah.
enough for sharing your heart and sharing your life and your ministry with us. And if you guys want to catch up with Adam, you can go ahead and head on over to adamweber.com, and you can get in touch with him there. Ask him why he wants a sheep. He didn't get to explain that today because we're out of time. But if you want to be a part of our virtual conference and online community, all you have to do is go to multiplication.org and sign up. Don't worry that this started as Boise. Boise is just our guinea pigs. We're piloting this with the poor hapless souls in Boise. They've been amazing. They've been awesome. We're seeing young leaders come up. It's been fantastic. But don't let that this community is broadening out. This is something that's going to be a part of Exponential going forward. So we want you to be a part of it. We want you to check it out. And for your conference memberships, you're going to get access to this. So if you're here today and you're like, oh man, I've never been to Exponential, now this is your chance. This is your way to go, and you'll get 5 months of membership in the
Awesome.
virtual online community. So I can't plug this thing enough because, like I said, it's almost too epic. You tell people, and they're like, "Really? I'm getting all this for free with my thing? I'm going to get to interact with these guys?" Yeah, that's right. That's what it is. So, anyways, head on over to multiplication.org. Adam, thanks for being my guest today, and we'll see you guys next time on the online community called The Hub. Peace out.